Paksao. This is another pretty basic hand that you see in Silam Tao multiple times, and you'll see it used a lot in Chisao. You'll see it used a lot in drills, and it's honestly one of the more effective ways of going in the case of, you know, actual self-defense scenarios. And basically a pak, you could think of it as basically a slap. I'm not sure what it translates into in Cantonese, but basically that's kind of what you can think of it as. Slapping energy. Whatever that energy is, that backhand kind of thing, except you're not striking with the back of your hand, that's a pak. So paks come out loose, nice and loose, with a lot of speed and a lot of energy. And the way that that's working is that that hand goes out and it's going so fast with so much force, but not with a lot of push behind it, if that makes sense. This is a kind of energy that we refer to as fa qing. So if you could imagine, say, placing a beer bottle on like a tree stump or something, and then punching the beer bottle, but the beer bottle shatters before it falls and hits the ground. That's the kind of energy that we're trying to put in to this pak, is that immediate delivery of a whole lot of very quick, fast, striking energy into the target without pushing. If you find yourself pushing, putting a lot of muscle into this, it's no longer a pak. It is a palm strike, it's something else. But that pak comes out nice and loose and it breaks that energy. Now, the thing about the pak is that it works really well as a cover, it works really well as a penetrating strike going in, and it works really well at like being a trap as well. And so this is just a really useful hand all around. I'm going to show you the anatomy of this first. So we already showed you that it comes out, it's on center, just like the bulk of our hands come out on center. This is protecting our center. We might add a shift to that, in which case we might be going to the opponent's center, or we might be throwing out our own strike and throwing that pak out to cover our center. That may also be a way that we do it as well. And you'll notice anatomy-wise that elbow is still sunk. This is still protecting us. And kind of similar to the tan, you don't really want to extend farther than this. You want to make sure that that elbow stays bent. Even if you are throwing it out there really hard, you want to make sure that that elbow doesn't get maxed out, especially with these slapping motions, because it's really easy to do a little bit of damage to your elbow doing that. But you'll notice that similar to a tan, there's this angle here. And so this hand, although it's nice if we can make contact with that hand on the thing that we're trying to hit, it doesn't have to be making contact. This will still cover this lower part of the hand. It may not have the same amount of that fa qing, but it will cover, it will strike, and it will disrupt. And that's one of the things that I want you to think about with a pak, is that disruption. That quick hitting energy really sends a lot of disruptive shock through an opponent, especially one that's really stiff. So if you're going up against somebody who's got their arms up and you can tell that they're really tense, they're shaking like this, when that pak hits that arm, their whole body is going to be disrupted, because if they're all tight and everything is super connected and super tense, it means when that disruptive energy comes into that limb, it's going to be extremely disruptive to the stance, to the structure, to everything. And that's one of the reasons why this is a really good penetrative to get in. Another reason why is because this is the hand that we would use for trapping primarily. So if you can see that somebody's got their hands in a bad position, like they're crunched up like this, you can land a pak right there, bam, all of a sudden both those hands are briefly trapped. Now, we don't really do grappling as such, so this isn't a hold. This isn't meant to be a thing to permanently disable somebody and bring them to the ground. All this does is it buys us a fraction of a second or so where they're not covering their face, and then we hit them in the face while they're not able to cover. Hit them in the neck, do something else horrible while they can't well, they can't do anything with their hands. And that's when you would use one of those high energy pocks going in to pin those hands up against the body. You can also use this as a strike, obviously. So, you know, the difference between, say, a really nice relaxed palm strike coming in and a pak sao coming in and getting you in the face, getting you in the chin, neck, whatever, probably not going to matter that much to the guy getting hit, honestly. It's, you know, that same kind of fa-ching energy, although it may not be the sort of like more forceful energy that we want to put into a palm strike or a punch or something. It's gonna carry a lot of power with it, and so, you know, the potential is still there for, you know, giving a knockout blow, giving somebody something that makes them daze, see stars for a minute while we take them down, etc., etc., etc. So it's a good hand for thinking in terms of a very aggressive block, a very aggressive cover, a very aggressive kind of going in strike. And so this is one of those hands that you'll see used a lot in Chi Sao. So when you're rolling with somebody like this, if you feel an opportunity to really give one of those quick poks and get in, that's when you do it. If you're locked in with somebody and they're tussling with you, they've got their arms against yours, you're kind of engaged in that IRL Chi Sao where somebody's trying to get in with their hands or do something with you. If you have the opportunity where you realize that they've got two hands on one of yours, that's also another opportunity for that pak delivered. So both their hands are here, I'm gonna fucking throw a pak right through the middle of whatever it is that they're doing. And while that is disrupting them, I can exchange and I can come in and I can do a fan to the throat. I can do a punch to the face. I can do all kinds of things. I could even come in with a kick. But yeah, pak sao, very, very good. And to show you the kind of how I do these when I practice them, you know, this obviously comes out from center. If you see a pak coming out here, that's more okay with this hand than it is with some other covers, because again, this can be used as an attack, and we don't go down our center when we do attacks, we go down the opponent's center when we do attacks. And so if you're seeing this as a shifting hand, typically this is going to go off center and it's going to go straight into the mirror's center or into the opponent's center. And typically if I'm using it as purely a cover with another strike, what I'm going to do is I'm going to throw this out to my center, and see when I turn around that's still on my center here. That fist is going to come out and that's going to be the thing that strikes them. Bam. So I'm expecting energy to come in, and you can see how much of an arc that's creating time and space wise. That's covering a lot of space. And again, if something comes in, especially if they're kind of extending and that pop comes in sideways, it's very, very disruptive, and it may give you the opportunity that you need to get in there and really take advantage of that disruption to take them out. It may give you the trap that you need to get that time to go in and do whatever you need to do to take them out. You know, if you miss with it, if you're trying to go in and you miss with it, maybe they threw out their hands or something, and you end up making contact with their face, then great. You just hit them in the face with a pak sao. It's going to suck for them. So that's kind of the basic anatomy of the pak. There are different ways that this can be used, more advanced, that I'll get into in another video. But for now, that's the basics on pak sao. And again, the anatomy of that hand coming straight forward, elbow typically bent, and the hand is relaxed. You want to think about that as a slapping motion. Very quick, very fast, very loose, loose, loose. You don't want to tense with this hand. And you can kind of see that whip sort of motion that I'm using. See how the hand's coming back. I don't necessarily recommend practicing that way, but if you can start maybe thinking about your hand as a whip going in, and it may help you get the right kind of energy that you're looking for. And again, the energy that you're looking for is that kind of energy that can break a beer bottle before it gets knocked over, if it's stood up on a tree stump. So that's Pak Sao.